What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new patch that just dropped in COD 2.0, a really strange leak, plus even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and let me know down below in the comment section, what do you think the player count is for COD 2.0, Modern Warfare 2, and even Warzone 2? Do you think it's drastically dropped off, or do you think it's around what it normally is at this time of the year? I'm sure there will be a lot of interest once the marketing at launch of Season 2 does happen, but we'll get back to the player count in a couple of minutes. We have quite a bit to get through first. So first and definitely foremost, we have a new update 1.14, which was reported on by PlayStation Size as of a couple of days ago. That became installable as of today. It was about 330 megabytes in size, wasn't very big at all, and doesn't contain anything massive for Season 2, but you could consider it kind of a pre-patch for Season 2 since it does contain quite a bit of stability fixes that needed to come out before the launch of a brand new season. I also didn't expect a new title update before the Season 2 preload, but you know what? The more the merrier, right? The Season 2 preload should probably be coming out in the next 2 weeks tops, maybe a bit sooner than that. I'll keep you guys posted, but here are the patch notes from today's updates as follows. So in general, this update contains several fixes to reduce the number of known crashes. We continue to prioritize increased stability and crash fixes across all platforms. They fixed an issue that showed weapon decals and stickers as blocked, an issue where using spotter scope could cause target markers to persist when aimed down sights with a weapon. Also fixed an issue allowing the sentry gun to be placed inside a tank to eliminate enemies. That's really weird. An issue where gun screens weren't showing correctly on the Gunsmith UI tile, and an issue in the Gunsmith where players could be kicked back to the main menu when creating a custom knife. Also an issue in Gunsmith that could cause knife variants to display incorrectly, an issue that prevented some players from saving a custom mod while trying to select the camo, and also an issue causing some players to crash when dismissing a notification. Also an issue players were having with accessing and leaving the firing range. Moving on towards navigation improvements, address various issues with the social menu to improve navigation and functionality. Also a problem preventing some users from navigating through the friends or recent tab after scrolling over the top row, and even a problem where calling card previews are not displaying correctly in the challenge completion animation, as well as a UI issue causing text overlap in the after action report. I know I definitely saw that one a number of times. And then going over to Warzone 2.0 for bug fixes, fixed an issue where deploying a recon drone near water could cause some players to lose movement, and then for DMZ, an issue causing the reward section of the faction mission menu to display incorrectly. Also addressing a number of issues impacting the functionality and navigation of equipping and previewing insured weapons. Also a problem where players cannot access Gunsmith to change camos when equipping a launcher in an insured weapon slot. But then Raven followed up with some updates for Warzone 2 as well, where they said the Bird's Eye perk has been disabled in Battle Royale until further notice, while they balance it for future implementation into customizable perk packages. Stay tuned. And they've also disabled the Revive pistol in Warzone 2 while they investigate a separate problem. So I'll have the Trello board also linked down below in this video's description. Obviously earlier this morning I posted a video detailing everything that is coming to Warzone 2 with Season 2 that was talked about quite a bit in the recent community blog post, in which talked more about the communication that they've received and what they're going to be implementing as soon as February 15th. I broke that blog post into a dozen of different videos. We talked about multiplayer in one, global changes in another, one for DMZ, and of course the one this morning over for Warzone 2.0. Now, as I was editing this video, Infinity Ward did put out the following tweet that says, for additional clarity on DMZ, insured weapon slots will not reset with Season 2. More details to come in this week's blog. Stay tuned. So, although I do believe we should all be on an even playing field when a big overhaul does happen at DMZ, there are people out there who did spend many hours grinding some very difficult challenges for Tier 4 and Tier 5 just to get that third insured weapon slot. I do think, though, when Season 2 does drop, okay, go ahead and reset maybe your inventory of contraband or keys, but the insured weapon slots definitely should remain for those out there that put in the time. I don't think they give people that much of an advantage over others for Building 21 or Al Mazrah. So with that being said, what a big W for Infinity Ward that just needed to happen. But what's really strange is that a couple of days ago, a gaming event in Spain seems to have been given permission by Activision to display active numbers in Warzone 2, Modern Warfare 2, and COD Mobile together. So the breakdown does say that with Warzone 2 putting all platforms together had a combined 424,000 players a couple of days ago, while Modern Warfare 2 only had 184,000. Now obviously the press did follow up by saying that you should take those numbers with a grain of salt, because it doesn't really seem like Activision ever gives anybody permission to have access to any player counts for Call of Duty, right? Their biggest franchise. And I personally don't think those numbers are accurate. However, with the recent reports from the press that the player count did drop off drastically to a point where Activision never expected to see Warzone go, maybe those numbers are somewhat close. They're ballpark. I mean, maybe somebody out there from the inside leaked the real numbers, and maybe somebody just took that info and ran with it and somehow displayed it over in Spain for some reason. It's really confusing to look at a report like this because you really never see leaks such as these, right, with player count numbers. I mean, obviously, there have been certain websites and certain sources over the last couple of years that have claimed to have accurate player counts, but it's never been the 100% set in stone player numbers that I think you guys are probably looking for. Now, Charlie Intel is claiming that those numbers aren't even close to accurate because Activision doesn't share player count specifically for games anymore to anyone. So I do wonder, though, where those numbers are in terms of how close they could be to the report that the player count has dropped off. I mean, maybe they're somewhat accurate, but if Charlie Intel's saying they're not even close, then I would hope that it's in a good way, where the player count is that much higher. I mean, look back at older Call of Duty titles that used to display player counts in-game while searching for a match. We were looking at hundreds and hundreds, if not millions, of players all around the world, and I'm talking about just being on one platform. So if those are the real numbers, then yeah, what a very rough start for COD 2.0, but if those aren't close to the real numbers, then I'm going to hope that we're at least looking at somewhat close to a million, if not more, when you put all platforms together. But I'd also want to see what those numbers could spike to when a brand new season comes out. Obviously, right now, we're in a bit of a drought, as I've been talking about many times here on the channel. Not much has been added to the game for well over a month and a half, so I'd assume that if Season 2 is that big, it'll kind of revive the player count a little bit and bring it back to somewhat close to what it was when Season 1 first came out back in November. That's what I think will happen, but obviously when it comes to Call of Duty, you usually see a bit of a dip after like the first 2-3 seasons, and then there's a big moment in time during the summer where the player count isn't the greatest unless there's a big crossover event, and then it just kind of repeats itself as a cycle. The player count then shoots right back up when a new Call of Duty comes out during the fall window of a year. Now, obviously, there was a report that I covered a good, year ago that did suggest that Modern Warfare 19 had the biggest player drop-off before the release of Warzone 1, and there were some gaming analysts that backed up that info that said that those numbers were somewhat accurate, but I still think, regardless, always take all data with a grain of salt, especially if it's coming from Google Trends or Reddit or some other metric sites that aren't always 100%. You always got to be careful with information like that, but I do think a lot of the leaks we've seen over the years in regards to player counts are probably somewhat close to the truth, but it's hard to tell, right? Were those numbers correct at a certain moment in time? Were they correct for a long period of time? I mean, there's definitely got to be some roller coaster type data whenever it comes to a new Call of Duty because of the way the seasonal structure works and how we're getting updates every, 60 to 70 days, whereas back in the day it was every 3 months when we got a map pack. But since the industry has changed so much since then, I wouldn't be surprised if Call of Duty player counts just aren't what they used to be. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the brand new patch that dropped over in COD 2.0 today? How are you feeling about the stability fixes for multiplayer Warzone and even DMZ? And also, what are your thoughts on the really strange leak regarding the player counts, which did pop up over in Spain, which I'd be careful believing, but if those are true, then I certainly hope Season 2 does revive just about everything for every member of the community. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.